I think I'm streaming, but I can't tell until I can tell, so I have to wait till then. Yeah. Alright, so it has started officially, so we'll do this pop out the chat thing, blah blah blah. And what else do we have to do? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Who cares? People are just so stupid. Oh, God. Just... Anyway, yeah, draftphysics.com video presentation. It's just, ugh. Alright, anyway, communicating with people. It's just, it's just no reward in it. Alright, yep, the whole world is just so stupid for not recognizing your supreme genius. So again, it's not about my genius, it's about your failure, okay? And so the simple argument is that you have fallen into the same trap that humanity fell into thousands of years ago by inventing fake notions of reality. And mv squared is just a perfect example, and it's right in the middle of your science. And you should just acknowledge that and say, oh, okay, we should fix that. Because, you know, it is making a mess. I mean, frankly, it's created neutrinos, essentially. It created lots of these little fake particles you believe in, all this little bullshit. Because you don't understand what energy is, something so fundamental to physics. And I'm sorry it's just me. But it doesn't change the fact. It doesn't, it doesn't change the fact that you don't have evidence, that you clearly don't care about science because you don't require experiments to be repeated, you don't require numerous experiments to confirm a fact, and here you talk so arrogant. And, you know, so what are you displaying except exactly what I'm describing is religious fanaticism. That's all you are. You belong to a group. Okay, it's just groupthink. It just doesn't have anything to it. It's you're just behaving terribly right in front of everybody, and everybody doesn't even care about that. The other cranks won't even acknowledge that, oh yeah, that's all we're doing. It's just borgishly defending crap because mommy told us so. You know, mommy physicist. So, I mean, the subjects are kind of simple. It's the whole idea of what the fuck energy conservation is in a world where you've defined two separate sources of energy, two completely different mechanisms. You don't have any consistency. One day you say I conserve kinetic energy, the other day you say I conserve momentum. You know, can't make up your mind which one is which one counts in an experiment. It's just such so. I've pointed out how it's intrinsically this way. And, you know, what's your counter argument? That intrinsically, anytime I'm taking the momentum from a heavy object going slow, I get a very small amount of energy, and every time, by your own theory, you do this conversion between a small thing and a big thing, you end up creating a bunch of, you know, well, you lose it going from small to big, and you gain it from going from big to small things. Because of your mv squared. And that doesn't make any sense. It's like, what do you think energy is? I mean, I'm arguing that energy is something objects possess. They possess motion in the universe, and yes, they can have relative motions, and all of that has to add up. That it does, in fact, make a difference whether the 10-pound thing, okay, is moving or the 5-pound thing is moving towards each other. The reaction will be different in one case because 10 pounds moving has more energy than 5 pounds moving the same speed. And that the energy is transferred. The bowling ball hits the pins gain the energy that the bowling ball had. They can't gain any more energy. They can't gain any more mass and velocity. The mass and velocity the bowling ball has goes to the pins. And the same exact thing happens with friction or any other way that the energy is distributed. It's distributed. It's taken from the thing that has it and given to the things that don't have it. And however you want to turn that relativity-wise, it doesn't really matter. That's what happens. The differences between things are transferred until there's no difference. no difference you can see. The idea is that the energy is hidden from us in most cases because we can't see the little jiggling and moving that things are doing. The little things are doing a little jiggling and moving. We can't see that, but we can see the big thing moving, and we can understand that when the big thing has contact with the little things, the big thing slows down and the little things speed up. Like, for example, when something's flying through air. So yeah, there's really simple arguments in here, okay? The simple fact is you have to show an experiment where it takes 4 times the fuel to move something, whatever its mass is, some fixed mass, twice as fast. That's what your theory says. And then your theory says if it's going twice as fast, okay, it'll have 4 times the energy. That's it. It'll do 4 times the work. So in the example, 10-ton train, 5-ton train, again, you're saying the 5-ton train going 10 miles an hour has twice the energy of the 10-ton train going 5 miles an hour. 5-ton train going 10 miles an hour has twice the energy of the 10-ton train going 5 miles an hour. That's your assertion. So you think in 300 years you could come up with an experiment that shows that energy. That's all that's asked of you. It's not very much. Okay, so the fact that you don't have any of this experimental evidence, and then the little rare cases where you have some sort of experiment, as I pointed out with the Professor Lewin experiment, it says something ridiculous. You have 100 momentum going into the magical experiment, and you have 130 going out. And you say that makes sense. And I'm arguing, wait, you think that's intuitively sensible. And I'm arguing, oh no, that can't be. Well, anyway, I mean, I've pointed out the history. The arguments are absolutely garbage, okay? I mean, in terms of the fact that it wasn't, it was all argued sort of this way, where somebody said, well, your formula is a free energy formula. That's what was stated. And then your reply was, no, your formula is a free energy formula. But you didn't have any evidence of your theory, beyond saying, well, something that's dropped 4 times the distance in gravity, it's 4 times the distance, it must be 4 times the energy. That kind of logic. Where I've already explained why you have that illusion. It's because you're not understanding that gravity, okay, is a time-dependent force. So this is another key point, for the brozos and the mindlesses and the morons, that are providing the counter-argument because nobody else will. That's the real argument. I mean, how do you understand how gravity works? Does it matter how fast I move through gravity? Does it change how much gravity I'm collecting? So I could just hold this pen and make the argument that right now I'm doing work. Physics says I'm not doing any work. Okay. I'm making the logical argument, of course I'm doing work because I have to keep pushing this up against gravity. I have to replace what the ground is doing. It has to do it through me. I'm now the spring holding it up. And I have to constantly push against it to keep it in the air. Because the gravity's constantly hitting it. Constantly pushing it into the ground. Constantly. Okay, the force is affecting the mass. Let's see how else to say this. And so I could understand that if I was running this across a surface, that the faster I move it, okay, the less gravity, the less weight it's going to have per inch. That if I move something across the scale, slide it across the surface of the scale, it can't weigh as much. I mean, this isn't really a complicated argument, right? You can sort of get it that the faster this moves across the scale, the less it's going to weigh, and the slower it moves across the scale, the more it's going to weigh. And then if I just let it sit there, it'll weigh, a standard amount. But it's going to weigh less and less and less the faster I move it across that surface. That's what's at stake here. It's a simple logical argument. So, now, the real subject is that apparently you really need this to be done all the way back to nursery school or something. I have to do a bunch of lesson plans about simple logical concepts to get you to the point where you can understand that you really do have to answer these questions before you can assert anything. Do you think gravity is something you collect? Like rain, it hits you and you now have something different. You're moving, okay, because you collected it. And that you end up giving it when you hit something else, you end up losing what you collected. Now, if you don't understand that's as a fact how it works, it doesn't work some other magical way. Energy isn't some magical glowy thing. Okay, it's a quantizable, itemizable substances in a sense. You can think of it that way, and it works perfectly well. That you're collecting it. We're sponges, and we can collect the energy. Yeah. Because there's no point in having the conversation. You're just not getting to these. These are just basic facts about reality. You're asserting, okay, a truth I'm saying can't possibly survive. Again, I could do this over and over again. What's going to be your counter argument? It doesn't make. I'm saying it overtly doesn't make sense. Go ahead, try to make it make sense. I can lift these two objects 1 unit of distance and then 2 units of distance, right? I can just do this little bit of distance, boom, and it weighs an amount, right? And then I can drop one of them from 4 units of distance. So 1 times 4 will be the same weight as 1 times 2. You see how that can't make any sense? How could 1 times 4 equal 1 times 2? See? Your physics doesn't work. Okay? It's nonsensical. And the simple truth is, if you do it right, by momentum, okay, then you understand it's just about velocity. And so since it's twice the velocity and just one of the masses, that therefore now it equals 1 times 2 is the same as 2 times 1. I mean, the fact that it's only twice the velocity you've already accepted. So you can't figure out that it's in the gravity twice as long, it moves twice as fast, and it weighs twice as much. And that all equals 2. It's twice. It's not 4 times. Yes, it moves 4 times the distance in the gravity, but it's only in the gravity collecting gravitational energy for 2 units of time. All right. Yeah, so go ahead, keep doing whatever this is you're doing. Okay, you're just proving my point that you're just being incredible. Okay, uncredible. You're just being uselessly insulting. And you're just showing the desperation. You don't wish to make a physics argument. You don't wish to explain. You don't wish to counter any point I'm making. Again, 2 days ago I made a video. It listed all these little experiments, all this little stuff, this little logic you can apply. Pull some of that out and explain how it doesn't work that way. Explain my definition of how friction works. Explain how I was wrong. But you don't do any of that. So you're just proving my point. This is clearly a mistake that physics made because human beings suck. You just don't give a fuck about the truth, okay? You're just religious fanatics. And I don't know why I'm not a religious fanatic, but clearly I'm not. Clearly, somehow I haven't gone into my life saying, let's see if I can cheat the truth wherever I can. But yes, I don't know why I don't have your disease, but I obviously, in my opinion, don't have it. That you do have a brain dysfunction. I'm sorry, but it's frankly, in my opinion, a brain dysfunction when you're just lying to yourself. And you have to be lying to yourself to think you have made a counter argument that would persuade me. You've provided no evidence, okay, no logic. You've explained nothing. You won't admit anything. I mean, you won't even concede that, shit, I wish there were more experiments. You, nothing. You're so dishonest. Anyway. Keep blaming everyone else for your failures. Again, yeah, my failure is that I really don't want to be a nursery school teacher. I don't really have to start from the ABC blocks and try to explain to you what a logical contradiction is, and that you can't have a logical contradiction in your physics. That means it's broken. Okay, so you can't say energy is conserved. Sometimes, maybe, possibly, always. Yeah, you can't say shit like that. Depending on circumstances. Yeah. Alright. I'm sure that will get you really far. So, whatever. I'm sure you're full of shit because your argument shows you're full of shit. It shows your lameness. The fact that you cannot acknowledge that, well, if you're going to assert that it takes 4 times the energy to go twice as fast, that you ought to be able to show it. It's not asking for much. Alright. When are you debating Dr. Castro again? So, I guess Dr. Castro is just Farley. And, he did make a few comments on the Hilster, video. But there's absolutely no evidence that this Castro fellow has any relevance whatsoever, that he publishes anything or has anything to say about anything or any willingness to show himself in any way, or nothing. That he's a real person. It's just a fake character created by a troll. So again, isn't that evidence that your people are really desperate, that the only people showing up to make any noise are these kind of liars and cheaters? I mean, does it sort of just give away the argument in a sense? I mean, I shouldn't even have to make an argument to the reasonable people and say, hey, reasonable people, isn't that kind of glaring? I mean, when they're creating their fake, whatever, physics defenders. Pathetic. Alright. Mindless more lies and deception. What vape flavors do you hit? It's just, oh God, I just hate this planet. I don't bother flavors. I'm beyond flavors. Okay, just couldn't care less, frankly. If you have to pay for it, I don't bother. Okay, frankly, for most of there's a lot of stuff is just on the list of I don't need that, so I'm not going to waste money on it, frankly. And flavoring my nicotine is one of those things I've decided isn't worth the money. Anyway, so we're done with the blocked types. Oh, here we have one more. Also, you should be aware that you are not winning anything here. You can't, horse race. During the horse race, all kinds of horses are in the lead, and it's not until the finish line where you say, hey, that horse wins. So, we'll see, asshole. You are so stubborn. So, again, there's nothing, I'm not stubborn, it's just I don't yield to assholes. I mean, because some asshole jumps up and says stop, I'm not going to stop. That would be stupid for the horse to pay attention. That you're unwilling to budge. Budge on what? Where's the video that should compel me to budge? Professor Lewin's free energy video? That should budge me in some way? No, that just makes it obvious that, this fight needs to be fought, because look at the crap. They're showing people complete crap. I mean, something that shouldn't make any sense. Any one of the students in that classroom watching this stupid experiment should be saying, what the fuck just happened? He just made free energy. What the hell? I mean, they should be able to go a little step further and say, well, what if I did that experiment a second time and then a third time? Wouldn't I just keep increasing the amount of free energy I'm making? I mean, all I need to do is be able to churn it around and and I could make a perpetual energy machine. Alright, anyway. even a single millimeter from your deeply embedded delusion. So again, there's no evidence of any deeply embedded delusion. I'm making a statement, okay? And you need to counter it. I'm saying gravity is a time-dependent force, okay? That it's an active stream, essentially, and all you do is you stick matter in the active stream pushes it, okay? Now, you're saying that's a delusion. I'm saying that fits all the evidence. All the experimental evidence, yeah, it fits really well. It works. That model answers all the questions you need to ask about gravity. And you're saying because it answers all those questions, it's a delusion? Or you're saying, no, because you have some belief system, a model that doesn't answer all those questions, that energy is some magical word, not connected to anything real, and can be derived from whatever, bent geodesicing, that I have a delusion. I mean, you're pathetic, okay? You're the crazy person, telling other people they're crazy. Anyway, and everything presented just bounces right off your thick skull. So everything presented, that's the key word here, right? What the fuck has been presented? So again, where has somebody explained how friction works? Where has somebody explained how a bowling ball works? Where has somebody drawn a lever and explained how a lever works? No one has done that. Okay. Let's see. And everything presented is just speaking to you is like just speaking to a brick wall. So again, there's kind of no point in saying things that are just so easily said. I'm rubber, you're glue. I mean, duh. Where you won't even concede that you really should. NASA really should have done the Eddington experiment by now. I mean, really simple. Don't even need an eclipse from space. 400 times better resolution. Yeah, that should have been on the list of things to do. Oh, fuck. Before they figured out how to eat your own poo and drink your own urine, they probably should have done the Eddington experiment. Anyway. And all one can do is simply walk away. Fine, yes. Go ahead, and we'll wait and see if somebody who can do a better job shows up. I won't do that because I have no guarantee that anybody will show up. That's the sad truth. So I can't just walk away. Instead of engaging in more futility. I will agree with you. It is futile for you to think your lame assertions without any fucking evidence at all. No fucking evidence, really. No reasonably decent piece of evidence could possibly be a useful use of your time. I mean, you can't, yes, you shouldn't accomplish anything because you're not doing anything. Your argument sucks. I mean, plainly sucks. Okay. So, Brozo, the Brozo has made just a complete rubbish video. Okay, it's 8 seconds, right? And it has a commercial on it. It's such a, just, you're just like, oh, fuck, I have to endure 15 seconds of commercial to watch his 8-second video. I mean, so ridiculous. Alright, so we will do this, and I guess we'll do this, and that should work. So, there it is. Okay, the great Brozosian experiment. Now, he's being all, oh, just tell me what's wrong with this experiment, and I'll do the experiments right. I really wanted to, and it's just such crap after all this time. He needs instructions on the key ideas in doing an experiment. I mean, all right. So first off, this experiment demonstrates nothing. This isn't I didn't tell you to do this experiment. Okay, whatever this is, time, how long it oscillates thing. It proves there's kinetic energy. No, it doesn't prove anything. All you're proving is how much energy is theoretically in the system, and we know the system is running, the oscillator is running on gravity. I mean, do you understand? I mean, these are such basic ideas. I mean, it really is. I use the word pathetic way too much, but it really is pathetic. Okay, I'll just get rid of that since, well, no one's chatting, you know. It's kind of a useless function until this room has more viewership. Yeah, I might as well just get it out of the way. You know, simple concept. Okay, you know, what does this thing do? All right, a lever, and we're going to turn into a balance. So the first thing I would suggest is, okay, well, make it so the weights aren't arcing or doing all kinds of other stuff, moving funny through space. So the first thing you would do is hang the weights. Okay, I would argue, that would be my suggestion if you want to do some clinical experiment. Hang the weight, and then have the weights in a configuration, like a basket or something, but you could just, where you can make sure that you have the weight in the same, you know, as much as you can in the same condition. So I mean, to do that I used single weights, and I just, you know, I need 4 of them here. Now we need, you know, in my case I did one way over here. All right, 4 times the distance, you know. Alright, so the idea is if you have them in consistent form, you know, then you can't mess up too much. But the key thing is just hang them, and then it kind of doesn't matter what they look like, okay? So you just need this to be a 4, and you need this to be a 1, or a 2 to 1, it doesn't matter. Alright, just get the distances right. That's the first thing you need to do. Anyway, so the experiment he's doing is worrying about how fast this lever oscillates. That somehow if he changes the speed at which it oscillates, that somehow he's proven that this, okay, doesn't move 1/4 the velocity that this does. Oh, 1/4. That this does. When of course it does. Okay, this will move through space 4 times the distance, 4 times, versus this one little bit of distance in the same exact time. You can't change the amount of time they're oscillating. So if you say, okay, one oscillates 3 times in 30 seconds, one oscillates 4 times in 30 seconds, all you've done is say something like, well, the whole system has less energy in it because the total velocities for both sides is down. So this velocity is less and this velocity is less. But it's still a 4-to-1 relationship. You can't change that. Or in the case that he's doing, a 2-to-1 relationship. You can't change the 2-to-1 relationship. You can't change the fact that this is going to move 1 unit of distance, and this is going to move 2 units of distance in the same time. Okay, the same time. Same time. So you haven't done anything to explain how kinetic energy or momentum, blah, blah. You haven't done any. It's useless. So you got to go back to the experiment you did before where you launch things, okay? Go back to your little spring experiment where you push things, okay? Because that experiment, okay, will show you free energy. Now you could just create different things to do what the spring is doing. Maybe use a magnet, maybe actually drop, you know, the 2 mass here and put the 1 mass here and see if you can get the 1 mass to fly off at twice the velocity. I mean, do the experiment that's relevant to the subject. Alright, but I'll point out. I mean, this is such a terrible clip. I mean, it's just so bad. So after all this crap that has been argued, he's doing, you know, stuff that's just so uselessly flawed and unscientific and, you know, just defeats all of what has been argued. So, alright, so we'll go right back to the beginning here, and I guess we'll just frame by frame, I'll show you the obvious. So, you can see in the video that nothing here moves. So, he has 2 videos overlapped on each other. He has them, clearly the stand is in perfect focus, so he does have them aligned in the same position. So, any blurriness you see anywhere else means that the 2 aren't lining up. That there's something changed, or from one video to the next there's a defect. So you can see all these little bottles didn't exist in one of the videos. That's why they're half transparent. So it's sort of a giveaway, okay, of things that aren't quite right when you have halos, or the two objects aren't in the same position. So that was the first thing I noticed. So the first thing noticed is that he's launching them using his fucking hand again. So in spite of all this quick release stuff, I observed it. That's why I talked about it, was because I found out that, oh yeah, you can't just use your hand. The velocities are fast enough that your hand is just too slow. It doesn't let the energy loose. It just absorbs some of the energy, and therefore you're breaking the experiment. And the faster the thing's going, the more important that becomes. All right. So if you're gonna release a lever, you should release it really close to the fulcrum if you're going to release it somewhere, because that's the part that doesn't have to move as fast. But anyway, you really should have a better mechanism to ensure that when you are testing, you're not cheating, because one of them, you let go of them quicker than the other. Now you can see from this video, these two things are obviously not released completely at the same time. And so this whole experiment right there is defeated, because it's just obvious it's not close to the same time. All right. So obviously he's already let his finger off of the one, and he hasn't let his finger off the other yet. So the other one's starting to move, but he still hasn't gotten his hand off of it completely. So the two of them are starting off. Look at this huge difference. Obviously this one stopped moving altogether, meaning his finger didn't get off the lever. He lifted it, and his hand stopped, and then he lifted it. So clearly it starts with him absorbing some of the energy. That contact means the thing is moving, he's absorbed the energy, his little molecules are now moving, and the lever's not moving because it's lost energy. So the gravitational potential on the other side, some of the energy's been used up because he's interrupted the free fall. He's interrupted the natural speed that it would fall at if he would have let go of it completely and immediately. But he didn't. So I mean, it's a glaring error. Okay, I mean, the huge head start. You could see that the one side had a huge head start. I mean, let's do it again. I mean, just look how big this head start is. I mean, it's a substantial head start. All right. Big giant difference in the takeoff speed. Alright. One of them reaches its apex, the other one has barely started to move. I mean, they really can't have that much of a differential, so that's all just human error. Alright, now you let them go back to where they're going to line up with each other again, cross each other, and then you can see some other obvious defects. So there's little pieces of tape here. See this little tape? The tapes aren't going to line up. Okay, the thing attaching the weight over here, you can see the weights aren't going to line up either. So what he's ended up doing, I guess what I could figure, is this stick ends here. The other stick is like a ½ inch longer. So what he ended up doing was moving the pole and then rebalancing it, so the length of the pole isn't the same length on both sides. I mean, it's kind of an obvious defect, right? I mean, you can't do that. That would be the simple argument. Okay, you want to know how to do the experiment? Well, don't do that, fuckhead. You have to make sure that the center of your lever is always the same center. You can't shove more lever on one side and then claim I'm doing the experiment. The lever has to start off balanced before you put the weights on it. Ay. Okay, I should have gone frame it of time. Sorry, my bad. Let's see if that'll work. Okay, go on a little bit more. Pooped out. Sorry. I don't know why VLC isn't better at. Come on, pause. It won't even pause now for me. Son of a bitch. It's a piece of shit program. In some respects. I mean, yes, it's free and all of that crap. But, alright, so you can see that this this one here. Okay, you can see the hook is here in one video and the hook is over here in the other video. Clearly like a ½ inch difference. And if you really watch the video, you'll see that one end, the pole without this weight, the batteries on it, is longer than the pole with the batteries. And this tape doesn't line up. The one piece is here and the other piece is here. So it's like a ½ inch difference. Clearly not good. Alright, go one more turn. And let's see if we can see the pole size difference. That's, hey, you can't see it anymore. What the fuck? I mean, what the hell? There, okay. Why would it disappear like that? That's really irritating. So I just wasted my time explaining. I gotta move this over because... come on, not that one, this one. Yeah, but you gotta see that edge. Oh, okay, you can see the edge. So anyway, the contention is this one is actually longer, and you can see it in the video. This top bar is longer. The one with the batteries is shorter. So the total distance from the fulcrum, one of them is a ½ inch or more longer than the other one. So I mean, it's just such horseshit to claim, oh yeah, I want to do these experiments, I want to do them right. And, no, you don't. Yeah, stop working again. Damn it. That is irritating. Alright, you can barely see it in this video, but this one sort of ends here. This one still goes. You can sort of see that shadow line. So it's really not, they're really not the same experiment superimposed. I mean, it's kind of a, fundamental error. Yeah, stopped working again. Oh well. So, yes, flawed experiment. It's not even playing. Son of a bitch. I guess it's a Linux thing. I don't know why it just doesn't, the frame by frame thing stops working. I suppose I probably should change the format of the video and maybe it'll work then. It's probably a solution. I just gotta figure out, oh, now it's breaking the video into pieces. Yeah, not gonna work. Unfortunately. Yeah, that's of no value. Anyway, fuck it. Alright, so we'll read a little bit of the crap on his webpage, but there's just no point. I mean, this is so insincere, you know. It's just bullshit. He doesn't want to do these things right. He doesn't care about getting to the truth. Because it's obvious after all these other videos, we've been over this, quick release thing so many times. There's just no excuse to keep getting that one wrong. Alright. So, we could probably play a little bit of this video, maybe. Maybe I can catch it at the right moment. Alright, that's a pretty good moment, frankly. So you see the little halo here, you can see where the wires are in different places. So they really shouldn't be. For this bar to be completely black, perfect, and these wires to be in different locations, there can't really be an excuse for that. They should be in the same exact spot, just like this bar's in the same spot and this foot is in the same spot. It should be in the same spot. And the fact that it's not in the same spot isn't good. Alright. Now the tape looks a little better. I can't really, I'm not going to be able to inch it another inch. And you can't really tell here. But again, the argument is this one, the back bar is going a little bit further than this one with the batteries tied to it. So I guess he thinks he can just stick any weight that's close. It doesn't have to be exactly the right weight at exactly the right distance to get the same oscillating speed, the same energy into the system. But again, what would be the argument? There's no argument that these batteries aren't moving 4 times the distance and this is moving 1. I mean, there's just can't be an argument. It obviously is moving 4 times the velocity. So you're still stuck with explaining how it's possible that 4 times the kinetic energy is happening on one side of the oscillator than on the other side of the oscillator. The two sides of the oscillator are storing the energy in gravity. How can they store different amounts of energy and be maintained as an oscillator? It's not really possible. I don't think it's possible to make that logically make any sense. Alright, so let's go down here to this crap in the text. Alright, and well, let's go to what he pinned this complete pile of shit comment by Mindless Marbles. So that's the context you have to understand everything in. Is no matter what he says, this is what he really thinks. Okay. I don't have much to say about this video, but Gary is still ignoring evidence. So again, that debunks him. So in no way this evidence can't debunk anything. It's so bad. Alright. Does it bother his fans? I don't even know who those people are, frankly. One bit that Gary is this, he calls me negligent. Yeah. So the Mindless did this stupid thing where he wrapped a string around a cylinder and then dropped a weight that had sticks on it. And he said that's the same as pressing on one side of a lever and seeing how much weight the other side feels like. Yeah. Alright. And I'm the negligent one. Oh, fuck. Priceless. This needs to be asked to them directly. I would think that they took any of this seriously, they wouldn't tolerate this level of dishonesty by Gary. So again, this claim that I am somehow being dishonest is just, on its face, a disgusting lie. And, it's really rude, and fuck you. That's not too complicated. So he says, I invited Gary. So he didn't invite me. There was no invitation for anything. I just found this because I now and then check to see if anybody's making a new video. And I said, what the fuck? 8 seconds? So he's going to do, in this conversation, he's going to, after all these arguments, he's going to interject an 8-second video as some sort of evidence. I mean, it's all so ridiculous. To say what is supposed to be wrong with this experiment. So I wasn't invited to do anything. So I can show any changes make little or no difference. Difference to what? What is your theory? Could you please draw the lever on a board and explain how it's possible, how it's theoretically possible to change the energy of the system without changing what masses you're lifting? I mean, I guess I should... I guess I'll make a short, brief statement about some of that. Probably don't even need to draw it. I just enhance the drawing that already exists. See, I can put... I don't have to put this 4 mass here. I could put the 4 mass here. Alright, and then I would just change the 4 here. 4 units of distance. So I can put it anywhere. Okay, and it's always going to weigh what it weighs. I mean, you can't change its weight. And the truth is, if I go the right amount of distance away, the same distance away, it'll always say if this weighed 9 pounds. It'll weigh 9 pounds if I press here. It'll weigh 9 pounds if I moved it here, the 9 pounds, then it'll weigh 9 pounds here. If I move the 9 pounds out here, it'll weigh the 9 pounds out here. It's always proportional, okay, to the place you place it. That other side will always feel the same pressure, okay, as the 9 pounds. So you can't change the fact that it's an amount of weight. And so, but you really can fuck it up by saying, well, what's it weigh here? Okay, yeah. There it's gonna screw up because now it's not gonna evenly oscillate. It's not gonna do lots of things because now it's not balanced. Alright, so everything does have to be in very specific locations for the specific location you first chose. But you can choose any location to start. You can have a very long lever and hang a weight on it and then do your differences. Or you can have a very short lever and do the experiment. Doesn't matter. Now, the longer you make it, the more likely to see any changes or defects. Now we see the shorter the lever is, the less you have to measure. And the longer you make the lever, the more you can see any irregularities. It's a better ruler if you make it longer with more divisions. But again, that can work against you because the longer you make it, the heavier it is, the more it bends. Lots of things happen that aren't good. But whatever. I mean, this whole argument that this tangential experiment, I'm just making a theoretical point, okay? It's not a MV versus kinetic energy point when I say that if you go to these right locations and press on the lever, you can't tell the difference. So the simple argument is that when the one mass is all the way on the outside, or I put an 8 mass here, I mean, the 4 mass here, or I put a 1 mass, that if I push on this side of the lever at the right location, it has to be the right location, the same location, that I will feel the same pressure from the 8 that I feel from the 9. Now, depending on where I put my finger, it will weigh more or less. The further out I go, the more this is going to weigh, and the more this is going to weigh. But they'll be the same if I put them at the right distance and I pick a location to, I push on the same location. It's going to be the same weight. You can't change that. It's how a scale works. So if you're going to say it happens some other way, you ought to say it with some evidence. Alright, your comment suggests he hadn't responded. I don't even know what that means. I invited Gary to what's wrong with this experiment so I can show any changes make little or no difference. So that's your statement, proven with nothing. You're not hanging the weights. You got them taped to the stick. I mean, you've got lots of things in there, and you're not quick releasing, and yet you know it wouldn't matter. Oh, okay. I don't think you know that. Your comment suggests he hasn't responded, so this silence suggests he agrees with it, but cannot explain the results. I'm going to stop right there, because I am so fed up with this lying. I mean, you're making up stories. You're telling me what happened in my life. You're telling me what events took place. I mean, fuck you, you child molesting, creepy old man. Fuck you in the ass till fucking goddamn dead. I really don't have to put up with this. Every fucking sentence has to have some fucking lie in it that I have to refute. Fuck you. Alright, I didn't know you made a stupid fucking video, you stupid cunt. I'm obviously not subscribed to your fucking Weasley channel. I can't stand the sight of you, you disgusting little troll. How the fuck did you see it on a message somewhere? Was there a comment somewhere where I was supposed to be informed that the great Brozo has made an 8-second shitty video? Yeah, I wasn't informed, fucker. Oh, I'm not afraid of your disgusting arguments. Your disgustingly stupid ones. Again, in the context of all of this conversation about a quick release, even in the, even the Mythbusters video, he's sitting there using the scissors or the torch or something, he's cutting the little string, he's making a quick release, and he still hasn't figured out that this is something essential, that if, at minimum, okay, if I'm going to do an energy test, I have to have a quick release. You haven't even figured that out yet, you fucking moron? I thought he might object to using a bearing instead of a thread. I would just argue that everything, should be made as perfect as possible. So the smaller the bearing for a lever, the better. Less possibility of friction is what you want to reduce. Alright, but anyway, the more important thing is how you hang the weights. It doesn't matter how long you hang them, but you need to hang them. That's the better way to do it, because then you're just lifting them up and down. That's the part you want to do. Anyway, fuck it. Fuck this shit. Yeah, no, I'm just done. I'm done wasting my time with these liars. Just every fucking opportunity he has to make up a fake story, he goes ahead and does it. Let's see. Well, anyway, let me just go see if the next one. I have to change this, but it's not there. So now you can see some of the slop comments. Alright. If I corrected that, he would have to explain why neither example oscillate at all, no matter how we try. So again, I don't really understand any of that nonsense. So go ahead, do an experiment I never suggested, and convert a scale into, it's still a scale, okay? So all you're doing, okay, what he's saying is look, if I tie a weight, okay, so what he's doing is he has a lever, and then he says, well, if I tie a weight completely in line with the lever, okay, so there's no weight above and no weight below, and I do this on both sides, that somehow I'm comparing these two weights, when no, you're not anymore. All you're basically doing is just saying, I'm just going to make the lever longer, or I'm going to make it shorter. All you've done is change the total mass of the lever, or I'm going to make it out of steel, or I'm going to make it out of rubber, or I'm going to make it out of cement. You're just changing the weight of the lever. You're not measuring, because you're not above or below. So yeah, that's already been established. For it to be a scale, you have to put stuff on top of it, or you have to put stuff below it. And I'm just suggesting that ideally, okay, even scales do that. They have little plungers on them so it holds the basket above, in a straight line. But I mean, obviously the dangling kind is, that's really old. So it works. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about being able to compare two weights, two masses. All right, we're not talking about making levers longer. Neutral. We're not talking about putting weights in a neutral condition. We're talking about putting them in a place where they're not neutral anymore, and you can compare them. Fuck. Alright. He's just too stupid. Anyway, let's see. We would have to add a third arm. Okay, so yeah, I'm not gonna bother with all this crap. It's totally irrelevant. We know how, we know scales work. We know that scales oscillate. We know all of that happens. So why pretend that if you do it some moronic way, where you're just extending the neutral lever, that somehow you've created a scale when you haven't? All right. And clearly, if you do it with the uneven mass, that's just creating a stick with an uneven mass. If you put a one weight right in line with the lever in the wrong location, it's just basically saying the same difference is changing where the fulcrum is. So instead of putting it in the middle, you've put it in some place where there's not the same weight on both sides. And so of course it'll just swing down, because it's not balanced. Alright, so anyway, but I already showed him, so look at that. The balance doesn't oscillate at all. So he keeps harping on this. It's not a balance then. It's just a stick. If the weight is in line with the center of the mass of the lever, then it's just adding mass to the lever. Oh, fuck. Alright. You're not going to... This will settle the argument once and for all. What will? Okay, let's see what will. Why do they let him off the hook when he literally says, this is so simple? Yes, the idea of a quick release, simple kind of concept. You figure it out, then you do it right, instead of doing it wrong every fucking time. Frankly, I can't be bothered. Okay, so these are just quotes. This will settle the argument once and for all. So these are all just quote mine statements. Yes, it'll settle the argument once and for all if you can show it taking 4 times the fuel to go twice as fast. Or if you can show something going twice as fast doing 4 times the work. That'll settle the argument. So why don't you work on doing that, instead of this nonsense that doesn't prove a fucking thing? I mean, how exactly do you convert your, look, the levers aren't oscillating at the same speed? How do you convert that into, look, it's a defense of kinetic energy. Somehow the stuff on this side isn't moving twice as fast or 4 times as fast as the stuff on this side. Well, it is still. So you haven't fixed anything. It still doesn't make... How do you make it that make sense? I have an oscillator. There's twice as much energy on one side as the other side. No, you don't have an oscillator. that breaks the rule of an oscillator. An oscillator has uneven masses in it, uneven energy, has to move in a direction. It can't stay where it is. Anyway, so there's no point. Alright, so we're done with that shit. God, fuck. These people are just such pieces of scum. Alright, so we can bring this up, I guess, and see what kind of comment trash there is. Ugh, I hate this planet. Where the hell is that thing? It should be here. Alright, let's see what it says. Oh, shit. They have no evidence. Yeah, no one has any evidence. Real physics doesn't have any evidence. They obviously don't have any evidence. It just seems kind of amazing that they can make an assertion for 350 years. They can tell all the smart people, oh, guess what? It takes 4 times the energy to go twice as fast. Even though you've never noticed that in your real life, that's what happens. And they've never had to prove it. I mean, disgusting, really. Alright, whatever this, dark and less. Okay, a lot of them are liars and trolls. Well, all of them. Do we have anything else in the other category? Let's find a name that's not in that category. They dislike draft science personally, and most of their actions are based on that. Yes, that's all the whole thing is. Let's see. Stephen Bro also seems strangely obsessed with him. Well, the obsession just grows out of the fact that his life had no meaning, okay? So at least now he has something to do, like he's dragon slaying, in his little metaphorical mind. This is something he can't fight the man, another, the system. He's lost every battle he's ever fought, and so, it's just kind of discouraged. And so now he thought he had something he could, a challenge where he could do his little stab it with his little sword thing, And, so he got himself into it, and now he's stuck. Because, yes, his name is on his crappy videos, and he's really not going to have any way of defending his behavior, if I'm right. If I'm right, he's going to look like such an asshole. What did he do? He put up all these horrible videos, all kinds of slimy innuendos, all kinds of garbage. And he was wrong. Pathetically, terribly, awfully, simply wrong. And wrong in a sense where, again, I pleaded for 2 years for him to draw a lever and he wouldn't do it. Explain how the lever works. Explain how it's not a momentum converting device, where it does exactly as I state. It allows you to create a Newton's cradle, essentially, with uneven masses. A Newton's cradle, the simple pendulum can't do it. The simple pendulum can't take the velocity of the one mass going twice as fast. It can't convert the different MVs into each other. But the lever can. The lever can take the big M and the little v and convert it into the big V and the little m. And that's a key statement. That's a quotable. So one of the things Brozo should quote is me saying that. And then he should show himself stabbing that in the heart somehow. Somehow proving that that's not what levers do. That levers don't do the MV conversion. But he won't do that. Because he's a little scummy piece of shit. He has to cheat, so he's not going to do the experiments that'll get to the point. Again, he already did the experiment, frankly. When he launched the pool ball thing to try to prove there was a tiny bit of time difference, what he proved was there's a huge energy difference, okay? That he actually did prove that the same force creates two events that have fundamentally different amounts of energy. He actually did use the same force to create a 10-ton train going 5 miles an hour and then create a 5-ton train going 10 miles an hour. He did it. In his own experiment, he proved my point. And here he is still talking like he's on the high ground and he has all the evidence on his side, when he clearly has a big giant piece of his own evidence is against him. So how could you, in hindsight, how could that person look honest or look decent or look like anything other than a terrible, awful, lying weasel? I mean, to deny his own experimental results, to keep pontificating about other people are stupid because they don't believe Brozosian physics. I mean, it's too stupid. And he'll even admit he doesn't understand any of these concepts. He doesn't know how levers work. He doesn't know how scales. He doesn't know all the details. I don't either. But I do know it works. Okay, I do know how it works in the sense that I know it's a momentum converter. That's the whole beauty of it. That's why it has value. Levers wouldn't have any value if they didn't do that momentum conversion. That's it. That's what they do. I mean, how can they fuck it up? Alright, he is the opposite of reliable. Yeah, well, that's the thing. Again, this whole thing about talking, he posted the last 5 or 6 videos were all posted after extensive conversation about quick releases. And none of his last 5 videos have a quick release in them. So he does these card experiments, lifting his hands, again, it's just... And then he claims, well, these are brilliant results, when, shit, you're breaking one of the rules we figured out here that's really important. That if you want to fuck up the experiment, fuck up the release. And he's obviously highly biased. Well, like I say, he's completely invested. I mean, I'm just saying, look at it from his point of view. If I'm right, he's not just wrong. He's a complete motherfucking asshole. I mean, he's proved himself a despicably horrible person. Okay, so he's highly biased because his whole reputation as a human being is on the line. See, all his anonymous buddies can just disappear. They can pretend they never said anything. But Steven can't. That's why I encourage or attempt to humiliate these assholes into putting their face on their crap. That's because I'm quite confident, and they really should be labeled for the rest of their life as poster childs of asshole. They've behaved as assholes. They're just despicable liars. Again, the whole context, I have not spoken any untruths. I have not slandered any women. I haven't done any of these evil things these people suggest. I have pointed out facts that are incredibly important. I mean, does Brozo think it's not an incredibly important fact that Madame Chartelet was tutored by a Leibnizian? There was only like 10 of these people on Earth, these Leibnizians. And she happened to be tutored by one of them. And ironically, the tutor actually sued her for plagiarism. And so that doesn't even seem a little bit bizarre to you? That the fact is that she so duplicated everything he said in such perfect verbatim and wrote that he actually sued her for stealing his theory, his words, his interpretation of Leibniz. And he won't even admit things like, well, that's an interesting fact. I mean, that should have some impact on how people think about her as a scientist. That maybe she hadn't heard all the counter arguments. Maybe she wasn't the most informed scientist on planet Earth at the time. Maybe she had innately a huge bias because as a child she was educated by somebody who talked about the living force. But it's just, you know, it's just so evil, to imply that somehow I've cheated the history or cheated the experiments in any way. I saw the Professor Lewin video like everybody else. Where I watched it, I'm like, this. How can this possibly be true? Yes, it's a critical piece of evidence in a sense. I'm saying if this is true, then why don't we have free energy machines? Because frankly, I can convert this into a free energy machine. I can make perpetual motion. You give me a device that increases the momentum in a direction by 33%. I can 33% is a lot. Okay, it's really hard not to be able to make perpetual motion at a 33% increase in the energy. And so you can call me names and insult me because I can figure out that, damn, that can't make sense. Rozo's experiment with the two different size cars and one spring in the middle was complete joke and just shows their dishonesty in the subject. He couldn't even line it up honestly. Well, I mean, it's part of what we know is that measuring velocity based on frame rate is dangerous. Okay, I mean, Franklin Hu screwed it all up. His first video was really stupid because he really didn't know that you can't view things at an angle and then do frame rates. That's really dangerous. And I found that I did an experiment with these heavy steel rods, and the truth is that any turn, any twist changes the size of the object, So you can sort of understand, it starts off being 6 inches, but if it turns a little bit, it's 5 inches, it's 4 inches. It's fucking up the distance, because of the perspective. And so you really have to be careful about angles and all that. It's important, And so ideally, you want to be doing these experiments overhead, and you want to guarantee the alignment. The defects exist, and for them to arrogantly say there's no defects, it's just Brozo gave up on air tracks because he found out that they're real buggy. Okay, so unless you have one that's really well engineered, no, it's not a great way to do an experiment. The carts can literally speed up. Because the trick is to create the non-friction, you're introducing a bunch of energy, right? To get rid of friction, you're introducing energy, and pretending that you can control that energy. And the fact is you can't. The cart just, it does all kinds of little shitty things, that create imbalances in that energy. And those imbalances are catastrophic, frankly, to doing these kind of measurements. And you can sort of, I should have seen it, because those boats they have that float on a pontoon over water, you can see them doing all kinds of shit. They're you can see how they're floating all over the place. All right. What's interesting is that some of these issues have been brought up numerous times over the years on various forums, and none of these responses were ever convincing. Well, I mean, look at one of the forums, some guy concedes the argument that, it is free energy, but it doesn't matter because in the end of the universe, in the ultimate singularity, it won't matter that it's free energy. Somehow we have to wait till the end of the universe to do the calculation, and then we'll find out it was conserved. I mean, some kind of nonsense like that. It was just so funny. But yeah, I mean, they're all F equals MA. They think that's all they have to say is F equals MA. There, we're done. It's per second. Yeah. Its acceleration is automatically squared because it's per second. I mean, it's so crappy. Even the mathematical argument is crap. Well, of course it's crap. And as I pointed out, something as standard operating procedure as MGH is clearly not right. It's clearly the height is going to give you the wrong answer. So, it obviously should be MGT. It is sad that you just can't provoke anybody actually fair to get into the conversation, right? It really is. I'm not saying you're not an actual fair person, but as soon as you show up and, point out the obvious that they're the ones cheating, then you're going to look like you're unfair. But I mean, the argument should be is that everybody who's watching these videos, they're interested in science and the truth. And that's the real objective, is the truth. They want the truth to win. And there's just no evidence that that's what they're doing, okay? Because there's every bit of evidence that they are not defending the truth. All right. And people like Simon Dan won't even attempt to touch the subject. Yeah, well, like I said, I have offered him the money. I've tried to humiliate him into doing it. But yes, I'm a dissident that he won't touch. Because he knows he's not going to be able to win the argument with evidence. There's none. They can't defend the position. I mean, if they show the Professor Lewin video, they're really in big trouble. What are they going to show to prove it takes 4 times more fuel to go twice as fast? They don't have anything. And they certainly can't show the Mythbusters video. I mean, they have nothing. Hey, Toady. Nice to see you again. Yeah. Wish I'd have a conversation or something maybe, but yeah, I know. It's like I can't change the standard of the argument. It's just the same. I'm actually saying the same shit pretty much I was saying 2 years ago. I've added a few arguments. I mean, I think this scale argument is a winner. I mean, the idea that me lifting these 2 things, okay, just 1 unit of distance, right? 2 times 1 is the same weight as me dropping one of them 4 units of distance. I mean, that's a pretty damn good argument that, hey, something's wrong with your math. Because those 2 things can't possibly be the same energy. Your theory says that's impossible. 4 times the distance can't be the same as 2 times the distance. By MGH, okay, I get 2 completely different numbers. So it can't possibly be the right formula, right? MGH says when I put the 2 things on, okay, 1 unit of distance, all right, I get a number. When I have the 1 thing, I get a different number. You can't have a different number. The MGH should have the same. It should get the right answer, right? And it doesn't. The 2 things do weigh exactly the same, and MGH says one of them should be twice as heavy. So Toady says, I'm still shocked. I couldn't get nobody to explain what's wrong. I also couldn't find anyone to do the air car experiments. It's a shame. Well, it's a good thing. I'm just saying that, you were going to talking about buying an air track, but it's a good thing you didn't, because frankly, unless you spend 5 or 10 grand on one, get one that's really heavily weighted, really precisely made, all of that kind of crap. They're buggy as fuck. Alright, anyway, I dropped out as I tried to get 2 of these debaters to tell me where the error is. Seems like they close ranks. Yeah, it's too bad we can't get somebody tighter in the circle, I suppose, of the debunkers on YouTube to show some integrity and debunk an argument that's actually not being made by somebody psychotically insane. I mean, the real low was when Simon Dan played a video of a guy who doesn't currently post any videos. I mean, it's not a video he has on his channel. He's not asserting it anymore. He might have gone to a nut house. He might have got cured. Who knows? And he's playing an old video, the guy posted 10 years ago, like he published it yesterday. And that was just so slimy. Like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that to somebody? I mean, that's just, that's when it starts to just get cruel. Like, they're just picking on retards and insane people. So, they want, let's see, okay. They want religious ideas and cartoon theories to win. Yeah, well, it's the religion thing, and I don't know about cartoon, but they want spiritually fun. I mean, they're doing what Leibniz did, right? I mean, Leibniz was scared because the physics looked cold and cruel, and he was a big life is fun kind of guy. He was a big, this is God's perfect world. So, I don't know what to say, but it was just clearly he was scared that the real world was just a cold, harsh reality, and he didn't want that to be true. That the pain, the suffering were horrible and real and bad, and it wasn't all going to be undone by a magic wave of God's wand. These people are all seeking a magical future. Made out of these fake notions. They're going to save the day with their pixies. The pixies will come to our rescue. I will make this statement. When I get this year's bonus, I will myself pay for an air track. We can then do the carts and find them properly. Frankly, like I said, I think there's probably better experiments. So maybe I'll try to make a list of better experiments, better devices. Because I'm just saying, air tracks they really are manipulatable. Just from playing with it, like I said, you really are introducing an energy source, and you can understand that if the cart, even when the carts hit each other, if they don't stay perfectly level, if they tilt at all, like cars tend to tilt up when they crash into each other, that's an exhaust now, and now the cart has extra energy. So in a sense, the air track can create fake energy, extra energy in the experiment. All you have to do is tip the cart, and you've created unevenness in the distribution of the air, and you've accelerating the cart. So you can make two carts hit each other. You can increase the momentum because you can actually have a cart moving at a velocity and give it more velocity because you tilted it. Anyway, let's see. I dropped out debaters to tell me where. Okay, yeah, I already read that. Go after the easiest targets for views and cash. It's rather disgusting, actually. Yeah, well, the whole internet's turned into that, right? I mean, Veritasium videos now are almost unwatchable because they're all gimmicky, showy pieces of crap. And Physics Girl was doing that too before she before she got depressed or whatever she got. Submarines, Antarctica. Now they're all going to Chernobyl, right? That's the new big thing to do, is go to Chernobyl. It's just, fuck. Let's see. Ping me with better experiments. If air tracks are buggy, let's find a good one. Yeah, all we really need to do is prove that you can make a 10-ton train going 5 miles an hour out of a 5-ton train going 10 miles an hour kind of thing. So we just have to, once that's established, then the game's over. Once you can establish that I can make something with more energy out of something with less energy, so it's almost just making the Newton's cradle work. Do the uneven mass thing. If you can synthesize that experiment, and I think a lever can do that, a well-constructed one, then yeah, it's game over. Brozo's experiment with the cue balls, I'm just saying that one sort of is the experiment. You just have to do it so well that it's unrefutable. That even the Mythbusters clay experiment is pretty decisive, and what they should use is a spring or some other device to collect the energy. So, so something that collects it as electricity or some other kind of mechanism, like the turbine example I gave. I spin a turbine twice as fast, with water. I don't get 4 times the energy. Those kind of examples will really prove the point, I think. It will really be decisive. It will be hard evidence to overcome. All right, if the gap is, say, 33%, can't we use balls on a strings colliding? Well, yeah, but see, that's the point, is that that's exactly what I was saying about how you could collect the extra momentum, but that's the Professor Lewin fake experiment. So that one you're only disproving the fake experiment. So I want proof that's even more sophisticated, in the sense that it absolutely proves if I can prove I can make a 5-ton train going 10 miles an hour and I can make it out of the energy of a 10-ton train going 5 miles an hour, then they really can't make an argument in defense, right? Because that is overtly free energy. Yeah, so like I said, the concept of the Newton's, I think the very fact that I've pointed out that the lever allows you to do the Newton's cradle. So, but you can also do it with air pressure. You can do it with any kind of device that stores the energy. So you're just looking for a device that converts the energy into some other storage and then gives the energy back again. And so all you're really saying is you want to store the energy with a 10-ton train going 5 miles an hour and then just replace the 10 tons with 5 tons and then prove that the same energy produces both outcomes. But like I say, Brosso's experiment already did that substantially. I mean, even if, he got the results of 19 and 11. All right, it's a little bit not perfectly 2 to 1. But even at 19 and 11, you have pretty decisive evidence that kinetic energy can't be true. So, but yeah, it's hard to, every experiment has got, all of them have to be done right. There's not like some perfect just kick the ball experiment. You can't, all of them do have to be carefully constructed so you don't fuck anything up. There's always a catch, where somebody can make some sort of stupid argument like there's less energy in the whole system or some other, so you really, you do have to waste some neuron time just figuring out what the right experiments are. The right devices, and then you have to figure out, oh yeah, quick release. Oh yeah, this, all the little stuff. Oh yeah, friction. Even in Brosso's experiment, right? See, the catch is the 2 mass actually rotates. So when you're shooting the objects with the lever, the heavy mass rotates, where the lighter mass skids. Now you have a theoretical argument, right? What consumes more energy? The friction of skidding, which is real. That's real friction, skidding. Or the fact that part of the linear motion is being used to create angular motion in the rolling. So the rolling is part of the energy that would have allowed the 2 mass to move. So the 2 masses got hidden energy in the rotation. And so now, what's the theoretical answer? Which one consumes more energy, skidding or rotating? So, there's catches everywhere. Potential hanging points. So you really do have to make sure you cover all those bases and create this little perfect experiment that can't be fucked with. But in so many ways, it's so fucking obvious that just why should you have to do all this crap? Why should I have to explain it? I just explained, again, really, just dropping the 2 mass and finding out that it weighs the same as the 1 mass dropped from 4 times the height. I mean, right there, you're just saying it's over. Clearly, gravity doesn't work the way they think it does. Distance isn't what it's about. It's time. How long are you exposed to the gravitational pressure? That decides how much you move. So I guess in a way, disproving MGH might be the right thing to do. Because once you've disproven MGH, you automatically break all of their math. Well, at any rate, we're getting closer and closer and closer to the perfect argument. Your electron to electron and proton to proton repulsion is kinetic energy. You know, whatever game you want to play, okay? It's not, but well, go ahead, play your game. All right. Because your force bits between the two surfaces equal their momentum. All of the movement in the universe is created by a force. There's no movement without a force causing it. So you could just say there's a certain amount of force in the universe. All right? I don't care. You want to make it out of wavicles? Go ahead. And the fact is that some percentage of the force is stuck on stuff pushing it. That's the argument, okay? So you're just measuring a quantity of force. And that's momentum. Okay, when you give the force to something with mass, it moves proportional. If it's heavy, it takes a lot of force to move it. If it's light, less mass, less little objects, it consumes less force to move. So there's no kinetic energy anywhere. All right, there's just active energy. The stream, again, if I look, are you going to say that my boat has potential kinetic energy? I have it on the ground next to a stream. Are you really going to make the argument that my boat has potential energy? Because I can put it in the stream? You know, fuck you. It's a silly argument. It clearly doesn't have any energy until I give it energy by exposing it to a force. I have to put it in the force field, or it's not going to have anything. It's all active energy. There is no potential energy. That's just a word misplacement. It's a bad conceptual idea. You can store energy in circular motion, like an eddy current, for example. I guess I could read the rest of that. Okay, repulsion is kinetic energy. Okay, so the repulsion is made out of force trapped. That's why they repel. It's because the force is stuck between two objects and it keeps pushing both objects. So it's like compressing air. All right, because your force bits bounce between the two surfaces. Right, so it's all active energy. Let's understand, we're not using kinetic in the terms of kinetic versus potential. I'm always using the word kinetic to describe 1/2 mv squared. But anyway, when you push electrons together, you pressurize the force bits. You narrow the space they can function in. If they have less space, they hit the surfaces more often, imparting force for some period of time until they're released again. They don't just bounce off. They push, and then they push into more force, and then they reflect. And how long that reflection takes is the energy they absorb. And the force bits give the electrons energy. No, the force bits are the electron's energy. They're using the electron to move. The force bit hits and sticks, essentially, moves something, and then eventually it reflects, okay, depending on how long it takes to bang into more force. So the energy is just stuck between two pieces of matter. Again, a simple argument. Obviously, the more confined the space the force operates in, the more energy it has, in the sense that it's going to hit objects, material objects, more often. And the freer it is, that is, I don't make any walls, then it can never hit a wall. But whatever. Okay. It's a little beyond just the simple argument between momentum and kinetic energy. Let's do that one first, and then I'll explain how electrons work. Alright, anyway. Would using an air gun such as one that fills car tires, it's not a gun, but whatever, be successful for the experiment to show accuracy? Yes, pressure would be effective in proving the point, because cylinders work the same way. I can make a cylinder do exactly what the lever does. That is, I can take one cylinder of a fixed size, alright, and then I can have two cylinders on the other side, and I can push the one cylinder twice the distance, alright, and only get half out of the other cylinder, right? So it's always going to equal the same. It'll be twice the mass and half the distance. So momentum will be perfectly conserved, and there'll be no sign of kinetic energy, because I can do exactly the opposite. I can move the two cylinders at half the speed, okay, and I can make the one cylinder moving twice as fast. So pressurized vessels are, like levers, momentum conversion devices. So again, it would be another experiment that decisively proves kinetic energy is unviable. There's no role for it to play. And it would certainly prove that I can take the energy of a 10-ton train moving 5 miles an hour, and I can make a 5-ton train going 10 miles an hour. And as soon as I show you that experiment, I've proven, okay, that unless you want to believe free energy is that easy, there's no such thing as kinetic energy theory, because there is no free energy. I'd argue it works even better with a non-pressurized fluid. So you could just take water, an uncompressible fluid, put it in a vessel with the cylinders I described, and it will function perfectly like a lever. That's hydraulics, right? So yeah, you can just make a hydraulic system, and it'll prove that the only thing you can conserve with your hydraulic system is momentum. You can't conserve kinetic energy. Kinetic energy makes no sense in hydraulics. It makes no sense in space. It makes no sense, period. And the defenders are defending shit, rubbish thinking, crazy theory, nonsense, mush, crap. Again, let Brozo defend Professor Lowen's experiment. Let him explain to me how the two carts are 2-to-1 masses, because you can just look at them and know they can't be. I mean, it's funny that I caught a real MIT college professor cheating, and people aren't even interested in that argument. That doesn't even pull their string in some way and make them think a little and say, shit, if I can't defend that Professor Lewin experiment, I really can't defend arguing with this guy. I mean, if MIT professors are cheating to make the math work, fuck. Isn't your game over? I mean, that should be game over for them, right? I mean, that's glaringly bad form. But no, it's everybody's just a fanatic. It's just you're just saying that that's all this is about. Is everybody's just going to show up to this argument? They're going to say, "I love my science. I love my scientists. They can't be wrong." Yeah. Star Trek is real. All right, they put these types of concepts in stone. Well, it's not even that they're in stone. Look at what they did to the, assigning plus and minus wrong. They know it's the wrong assignment. They know it fucks up Maxwell's equations and has wacky shit happen, like current go the opposite way of voltage. They know it does stupid things, and they still won't fix it. All right, and they can't be convinced to actually analyze them. If it was easy to prove, it would have been done already. Well, yeah, of course. Obviously, if it took 4 times more fuel to go twice as fast, there'd be all kinds of warnings on your car gas pedal would have a big warning on it. Do not step on this. It's going to cost you a lot of money. All right. If one electron had, James, you're just kind of breaking the continuity of the conversation a little bit. But anyway, if one electron had momentum, that's right, electrons have mass, and then they get hit by force that pushes them. Okay. That it is going to collide with an electron, with no momentum. If an electron had momentum, that it is going to collide with an electron with no momentum. First, their momentum equals. Yeah, that's just a Newton's cradle, retard. So, whatever. Before their momentum are equal, they move closer together, after which they depressurize. Yeah, but they don't do any of that automatically. They can't pressurize or depressurize. How do you pressurize them? Well, don't you have to add a force on the outside to push them into being in contact? You don't get that part? Yeah, to pressurize them, you have to add force, okay? So that's why there's more force inside, is because you've put more force inside from the outside to get them stuck together. And then, as they depressurize, you have to release the extra pressure on the outside. If the extra pressure on the outside still exists, they can't go anywhere. Jeez. I tend to think that if this was easy, then we would have clear evidence. I don't find I'm using 4 times the fuel when I mow the lawn faster. Otherwise, we should be using slow mowers. Well, obviously, we should be using everything in the slowest speed possible, because any increase in speed is this exponential increase in how much energy it requires. So you can keep going back, almost infinitely, and keep saying, I'm saving energy, until you're not using any energy. It's a huge savings not using any. But that's how it's the gun bullet thing, right? I mean, it's impossible. Okay, well, it's implausible that you can convince people that the energy of the bullet is exactly the same as the energy of the gun. But if I just make the simple physics argument, and I said to you, well, what's the difference between a 1,000-pound person pushing on you, and with a 1,000-pound person moving 5 miles an hour versus, I shouldn't use that. I gotta mix my numbers. It's like the football player argument, right? That I can create a scenario where, 4 100-pound guys hitting you at 5 miles an hour, or one 400-pound guy hitting you at 5 miles an hour, right? 4 at 20, or one. No, I did it backwards. 4 at 5. Versus 1 at 20, one 100-pound. Oh, I'm making a mess out of that. Anyway, yeah, it doesn't work. So anyway, yes, I'm just saying that, obviously we would be running our lives completely differently if we thought it made that, like even ceiling fans, all kinds of stuff, 4 times the energy to go twice as fast? Shit. That's not very efficient. Why would I put the fan on high speed ever? It's killing me. Why wouldn't I buy 2 fans, right? I run 2 fans at slow speed, and I do so much better than 1 fan at high speed. That's the argument I was trying to make. Yeah, those tiny, wrecking balls we use. Again, see, that's the argument we were making 2 years ago, and it doesn't work on people. They just don't get it. But again, it's the bullet in the argument. It's a NASA guy would tell you, you shoot the bullet out one side of the ship and keep the recoil of the gun inside the spaceship, versus, having the bullet hit the side of the ship and be embedded in it and let the gun fly out of the ship. And the NASA engineer knows it's the same difference, same energy, same turning power. 1,000 atoms going 1 mile an hour, same thing as one atom going 1,000 miles an hour. Same frickin' thing. And their theory is one has 1,000 times more energy. 1,000 times more energy. I mean, by their theory, just think what it says, right? It says the recoil of the gun is only 2 joules. So if I took the bullet that has 1,000 joules and I shot it at another gun, right? Can I give the gun 1,000 joules worth of energy? You know what I'm saying? It's like they're basically saying that if I shoot a gun with a gun, then I'll make a killer gun. You know, the gun will have a recoil that's insane, you know, in terms of the amount of energy. You know, it doesn't make any sense. Alright, no explanation where this extra energy comes from or any physics logic behind it. Yeah, well, it really is. It shouldn't be an argument that's taking years to make. It shouldn't. And like I said, you can't go on a physics forum and bring this subject up. They won't let you say, where's the evidence? Do you have any physical experimental evidence? They won't allow you to ask that question because they don't, and they don't care. That's the part that's really bizarre. But I mean, they don't care. Look, they don't care for a pretty good reason, right? Because if kinetic energy is wrong, all of particle physics is over, okay? All of the muon, gluon, puon, zuon, it all goes away because all of it is based on 1/2 mv squared. The weight of an electron is based on 1/2 mv squared. That's how they calculated it. Okay, all the stuff that happens in accelerators, linear or circular, it doesn't matter. All of those experiments, you have to reinterpret all that data because they have the energies way the fuck off. So it is a gigantic, you know, if I can prove this point, it's fucking huge in terms of what it's going to do to physics. It blows up all, like I said, and then I can blow up all the entanglement crap with the 2-slit stuff. I guess it's not just a coincidence that they fucked up everything, right? They fucked up the whole wave particle thing, and then they fucked up the whole energy thing. I mean, they just fucked up every single time they had a choice to keep physics grounded. They chose to, you know, tie it to an angel. Just letting you know, it's been 1 hour and 40 minutes. Thank you. Appreciate it. I realized I was talking longer than usual, but it's, you know, there's people commenting, so I'll play along. I get what you mean, but the electron doesn't move immediately. Exactly. It the same reason that caused sound to be. Again, I'm just so sick of everybody comparing things to water and sound. I'm just so sick of it. That's a medium, for fuck's sake. Those are atoms that are forced into contact with each other. Nothing is forcing the force. And the force can't hit the force. It can only hit matter. So it's not the same fucking mechanism. So it's not same reason. Okay? It's not the same reason. That's wrong thinking. Looks like is not necessarily is like. Quit doing this shit. Same reason that causes sound to be produced when a metal balls collide. No. It's not the same reason. Again, those are atoms under air pressure. Take away the air pressure, no sound. Right? No air pressure, no sound. Just the truth. I mean, the higher on a mountain you go, the less the sound you can create, right? I mean, the less air pressure, the less the sound can the less distance, right? That's why sound can go through water, huge distances, is because it's thick medium. No, I haven't read whoever the fuck Roger Boskovich Skitsk. What the fuck? I mean, why do people name drop? I mean, why do they do that? These people aren't like Einstein or something. I mean, come on. You can just say Roger Boskovich, and you think 1 in 100 people know who the fuck that is? But anyway, whatever. I don't, frankly, I don't do much reading. I mean, I do 90% is, watch a video, see somebody interviewed. I really don't care what dead people said. That really doesn't intrigue me much. I only do that if I have to. Okay, that kind of thing. I mean, somebody alive, if somebody had a good idea 200 years ago, somebody alive today should be able to defend the idea, right? Yeah, well, fuck you. Whatever your name is, Bramble, Matt, you gotta come up with a better screen name, so I'll give you advice. Get a better screen name. Pick a better deodorant. Books are suppressed. Oh, so you're a conspiracy theorist. Ooh, how fascinating. I mean, it's just so, you're just like, what? It's suppressing a book. I mean, it's just such a funny idea, in the internet age. Oh, the government will come to your house if you republish it. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure they will. Oh, God, I hate people. Sorry, people I don't hate. I don't mean to throw you in that category, but I just hate so many of the people that it's hard to, acknowledge the 3% of people I don't hate. Well, then it's not suppressed, moron. I mean, use words appropriately, all right? If you're going to make a claim that something's suppressed, okay, you're using the wrong word, so pick the right word. It's underappreciated by the pop science community. Say something like that. But I'm sure you're just a nut. It's probably some free energy book or something, right? Some kind of wacky crap. Ugh. I don't think they want physics to be simple. They don't want it to be physical. Frankly, they don't want it to be clinically cold and unyielding to their phantasmagorical fun, turbo drive philosophy, their photon computer or whatever. Let's see. If that was, they wouldn't be able to create more jobs and fund crap like the LHC. Yeah, well, they'll fund anything. So we know that it's not just the LHC. It's all kinds of, LIGO, all kinds of wacky crap. So it's just fun, okay, because it's all separate from scrutiny. It's so complicated and so fucked up that nobody can judge it and say, what a waste of fucking money. Right? Because it has this weird, bizarre statement it's making. But LIGO, like I said, the only reason why LIGO got built is because I'm sure the Defense Department said, yeah, maybe we can use this as a listening device. So go ahead and build it because we might be able to use it. But that's the reason why it got built. Just look at string theory. Well, string theory, nobody believes that except for like 3 people. They'd be funding particle accelerators for the next few centuries based on that nonsense. String theory, I don't think likes particle accelerators because, frankly, most all the particle accelerator experiments prove string theory is crap. But anyway, it's not so much a conspiracy, it's just people have priorities. Okay, did that right. I'm sure if you met him in person, he isn't so bad. Who's that? The internet chat doesn't do anyone favors. Oh. Yeah, well, you have I mean, I'd say obviously you have a much more genteel perception of the world we exist in. I frankly, yeah, this is the cesspool of the universe. Frankly, everything is got shit smeared on it. But anyway, I find a lot of books string words. I find a lot of books string words just to fill the pages instead of getting to the point. Yes, that's why I'm not a big fan of books. Read Schopenhauer. I mean, fuck. I mean, 2 books full of pointless analogies. It's barely getting to the point. All right. AKA Roger Joseph thought he knew the name, just Jesuit priest and astronomer. Well, again, why do you think I would like, Jesuits? So, Bramble guy, religion is not a good theory. All right, God isn't a good theory. Not saying your force bits is air, but it moves at the same speed of light it takes to move out of the way. It moves at the same speed of light it takes time to move out of the way. I don't understand why that is all relevant. It's clearly more pressure, though. The 2 surfaces are this close. The ping pong ball is going to bounce twice as many times it's going to hit the surface if they're this far apart. That part doesn't change any. And if they were individual objects, and I moved them that far apart, it would be the inverse square law because you're spreading this way and that way. Surfaces create an infinite plane, so at least in surfaces, the distance is proportional to the pressure. But, when you're measuring point source to point source, then the inverse square law pops into place. Alright, have you read... Oh, geez, fuck you. Okay, I'll block you at some point. I mean, it's all irrelevant crap. Why would I read some kind of crap, frankly? There just proves supersymmetry in the particle accelerator to validate string theory. I don't think there's too many people doing that, frankly, so whatever. But the theory can basically change at will, a shell game. Doesn't matter whether it changes at will. Its elemental fundamental principle is a bunch of worms at the core of the universe. So you might as well say it's the jellyfish theory. That the energy in the universe is coming from little squiggly bits. There's little tiny maggots, and the universe is running on little tiny maggot power. I mean, it's a stupid theory. These are the books in the archive. Okay, I'm going to block you now. Okay, we're really done doing whatever you're doing, okay, whatever you're implying, okay, your Ken Wheeler, hyperburloid theory, you're just not useful. So I'm going to time you out. Okay. Doing a live stream is like our modern version of the medieval stocks. Everyone throwing tomatoes and cabbage in your direction. Yeah, well, it's half and half. I mean, either the room is just being dominated by someone who's belligerently stupid, like that last guy, who just wants to argue some kind of wacky gremlin theory. And then, there's your type, which is, where some of the times the rooms, I think, are quite productive. So it just sort of depends on who you get in the room. All right. But, yeah, I mean, the whole arguing thing on the internet is just... Yeah, it's just pillory. I mean, the arguments there's no obligation to stay on the subject. What we need is like a referee, who says, like in soccer, you have to have valid kicks. You can't kick somebody in the nuts and win. I mean, it's just, So there has to be a referee that says if you're going to win, you actually have to hit the ball into the goal. You can't just, throw a knife in the guy's eye. You know. All right. They entertain that nonsense, but push out their other alternative theories. So, yeah. So, well, anyway, I'm just saying the clearly all these industries are just running on their bullshit. So, and as long as they keep the bullshit alive, they can keep the funding alive. But clearly, accelerators. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of people, especially if the economy goes tumbling, that are going to want to spend another $50 billion to make more accelerators. So I think they kind of know. Well, even if it finds the double Higgs boson, I don't even know what the fuck a Higgs boson is. So why the fuck do I need a double Higgs boson? I mean, it's gotten so abstract and disconnected from reality that who the fuck could care? I mean, the standard model is such convoluted crap, right? They say an atom is this thing with a nucleus and electrons around it, and then they tell you, no, there's 400 little shitty particles in there, and there's this Higgs thingy and the electron thingy and the antiparticles and you're like, what the hell is this shit? Why the fuck see, even that, they have a duality, right? They have the duality of the simple atom, and then they have all this crap they say is somehow in the simple atom. I mean, it's just so funny that they can get away with that. That they can get away with arguing that the standard model is the most proven, brilliant theory in the history of mankind, and it's absolutely, you can't find a place for anything. Where are the neutrinos hiding in the atom? What are they doing right now? What do you think the neutrinos are doing? I mean, just so bad. And it's all because of 1/2 mv squared. I'm telling you, that's all this is about. Is this 1/2 mv squared makes them think all of these things are generating all of this extra energy. It's just perpetual energy. The more you find, the more you'll find, because the smaller you get, the more energy you create. Now you have to create more particles because you have more energy. So you always have to say, well, where'd the energy come from? Well, neutrinos must be making it. So you have to keep adding particles because they keep increasing the energy in every single action or interaction. The smaller they go, the more energy they create. And it's just so stupid. Let's see, the word free should be removed from the English dictionary since it doesn't exist in its reality. Yeah, it doesn't exist. I don't know how it got so broken, but it was broken for me for most of my life. I actually thought there was such a thing as a free. And, then there was some point where I started thinking about it. I said, it's like saying white space. There's no free, There's just the opposites. There's no possibility of free. There's only different containers. Everything is confined. Everything is in a container. Everything is in a place. And so how could there ever be a free? But yeah, it's conceptually just, and then applied to something like free will. It's really stupid because, well, what does free will mean? You're free not to realize 2 + 2 = 4. Well, frankly, I'm not. So people can tell me, oh, you have the freedom to believe. No, I really don't. And I don't have the freedom to, play the piano. I don't have any of those freedoms. I can't just will it. All right, the word free. Okay, yeah, we already did that. Yeah, that was one of my, I would say, insightful moments is, when I recognized the biggest problem with the concept of free will is the word free. It just shouldn't be there. You either have an informed will, a stupid will, you could say a magical will if you wish, just be overtly true in what you're saying. You magically know what the right thing to do is, you have, God's better judgment inside of you, and so you could choose to do what God says, some kind of crap like that. But yeah, free is just useless. What use would free be? That's like saying you have a random will. A random will wouldn't make you a better person. I mean, the problem is we just give people the freedom to be stupid. This should be against the law to be stupid. You should have like a stupid airbag or something. There should be some kind of device that prevents stupid people from ever doing anything, because the stupid deflection device engages as soon as they attempt the stupid. Alright, so I guess we're about 2 hours. That's pretty good. Things have slowed down a little, so I guess I'll call it a morning and say my thank yous. It's nice to see you, Toady, really. I guess it could be the ability to choose to act in a non-deterministic manner. Well, I just mean, where's that choice in my brain? Well, yes and no. I can see how they're both determined by, angels and devils and, pieces of my psychology, but where do I find that third choice? Anyway, of course, that in itself is deterministic. Yes, that's the catch. The catch is you just can't evade the determinism. Can't evade the fact that you weren't educated, or you didn't take piano lessons, or all these rules to doing it right, doing physics right. You gotta obey the rules, and the rule is don't get brainwashed by the bullshit, and that was my advantage. I hated my physics teacher, and he hated me. And that was perfect in a sense, because that made it that much more easier for me to say, he's talking shit, So if I admired him and I thought he was the greatest guy, maybe then I would have fallen for some of it, But it made it really easy for me to say, oh, they're just talking more shit. Yeah, more shit. I mean, as soon as they drew that photon, I'm just saying, how could that make sense to anybody, this wacky crap? The photon is doing this, and it's doing this. It's like, I can't do any of that shit. You're telling me a photon's doing all that crap? For a 10-mile wavelength, it knows exactly how much to curve and do all its little wavy crap. I mean, come on. Yeah, how could anybody believe that shit? Yeah, the proof video. Yeah, the 8-second video. You might miss it because of the commercial, but Ugh, fuck. It's just so funny. Ugh, it's just such a funny world. Anyway, till the next time. Really appreciate it. Thank you, people who did show up and such. It does help. It's, the chat is not quite the same with no people in it. But anyway, so I will go and such. Until the next time. See? Europe showed up. I figure this morning thing can't always be a disaster. So it did work this time. Alright. So till the next time.